Okay. All right. I had Starbucks. You didn't. I'm wired. This might be like the fastest talking message I've ever given in my entire life. So turn your ears up. Here we go. We're going to go starting. Ready? Here we go. So we're in vice and virtue. We are unpacking some of the strongholds or what we call vices. And then we're looking at how we can substitute those vices that plague us with the virtue that counteracts that to really find the fullness of life that God has for you. And so the virtue or the vice I want to talk about tonight is laziness. Laziness. And the Bible has, some of you went, oof. Uh-oh. Yeah, I got assignments that are past due. I got things that I'm behind on. Yeah, you're right. Here we go. So laziness, the Bible talks a lot about it. Really, the book of Proverbs addresses this topic very directly, and they use the word sluggard, which would be the synonym to a person who is lazy. And here's the thing I want you to acknowledge or just be aware of is that Gen Z and Gen Alpha and even the end of the millennials, our generation, has really been labeled lazy. Like the older people look at us and go, man, they're just lazy. They're addicted to their phones and they flake and they're non-committal and they're just bums and they just waste away their life and their youth. And there's this battle between the perceptions. So you can be offended that that's the way they view you, or you can really search your heart and go, does that define me? And as we unpack laziness, I'm going to frame it in a way in which I would say it does define you. But newsflash, it defines all of us. We're all lazy in one way, shape, or form. It's part of our flesh nature. It's part of the battle that we have to overcome in this life because we all tend to have lazy tendencies. And here's one of the things with like laziness, and it comes to work ethic and just like, workplace, involvement and you name it, all the stereotypes that go with the laziness of our generation, this generation. And really, this started with the millennials, so you're off the hook. It started with my people, but here, it's like I have to do something I'm passionate about for my life. And like, well, I don't want to just work the 9 to 5. I don't want to do the grind. I don't want to just fit the mold and cash the paycheck. I want to do something I'm passionate about. So therefore, if I'm not passionate about it, therefore I won't do it as work. And it's like, well, we all can't just do our hobbies and get paid enough money to live on. But that was the trend that happened in my generation, the millennials, and it's been cascading into Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and it's this stereotype of laziness, and I don't want to work, or I don't have a work ethic, and I want to just do something that I'm passionate about. But here's the concept I want us to start before we get into laziness is my main point, kind of framework for the whole rest of the message is this. You were made to work. We were made to work. Let's go to Genesis chapter 2, second chapter of the entire Bible. God says this, God didn't say this. This is what was said about God creating all of the universe and creating man. He says, the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. Now, it isn't Gen Z slang of work. Like it's not just like a Luke Combs concert in a pasture somewhere getting jiggy with it. Like that's not the work that's going on here. It's labor. It's shovels, it's rakes, it's tilling the ground, it's planting seed, it's making the land work and produce food, which would have been a necessity for them to eat. And here's the thing, this is before sin entered into the world. Note this, Genesis 2, no sin yet, no fall of man. And God created his human, in his image, he created mankind, put him in the garden and said, work. You were going to take care of this place. And so the design in paradise is work. I believe you and I will work in heaven. We will have jobs, responsibilities. It's not Cupid on a cloud with a bow and arrow with angels like floating all day. It's not it. There'll be work to do. There'll be worship. There'll be things that got to get done. And we were made to work. Chapter 2 of the Bible, Adam was commanded to work in paradise with God on this earth. And then chapter 3 happens. We'll get to that at the end. There was a curse that came because of the work. So we're going to go through the book of Proverbs with the framework of we were made to work and unpack what laziness looks like and how to overcome this in our life to fulfill our purpose and our calling to work. And so Proverbs is a book of wisdom statements that are super relevant and applicable to your life. You should read the book of Proverbs. It'll hit you in the gut and call you out and read your mail and it's a beautiful thing to receive it, the wisdom, and apply it to your life. So just to frame it up, Proverbs 10:4 says this, lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. Lazy people will be poor people, he's saying. But diligent hands, people who do things, who get things done, have a work ethic and a desire to see progress, they will have wealth. Not necessarily 6 figures or 7 figures. It's not what he's talking about. You'll have wealth. You'll have enough. You will not be poor. You will be taken care of. Because the simple fact is you will never be successful in anything unless you work at it. Like no one wakes up and gets drafted in the NBA. Like no one wakes up and becomes CEO of a Fortune 500 company. No one simply one day just crosses the line and goes, man, I'm as good as Mozart. Nobody ever learns a new skill, a new trade, a new thing, never advances in anything without tons of effort. And so if you want to be successful, you got to put your hands to it. You see, but we're all lazy. We don't want to work sometimes. Sometimes our default is laziness, and our culture really celebrates laziness. Let me share why. We will work so hard for 35 years just so that we can make a bunch of money, put in a 401k and retirement so that we can be lazy and travel and just eat and experience pleasure and rest and kick our feet up. Like that's what our world pushes on you. Like, yeah, man, work now, grind now, retire at 60, hopefully 55 if you're really strategic, and then just be lazy for the rest of your life. But if the Bible says you're made to work, then why are we so focused on being lazy at the end of our life? Like, again, the curse, and I'll get there, is like you're going to work until you die, Adam. Like you are going to work until you die. But yet we invite this laziness kind of culture idea of just work now and save up for later and be lazy in the end. Or we have a mindset of, 9 to 5 grind. I'm just living for the weekend. Every Monday, I'm waiting for Friday. Can't wait. The work is a drudge. I hate it. I'm miserable. Our mindset is so negative. Maybe you're looking forward to Christmas break or summer break. It's coming. Finals is over. You're like, I'm done with work and essays and papers and assignments and deadlines and clocking in and clocking out. I'm just living for the breaks in my life because we all want just to be lazy. Now, the Bible talks about rest. Yes, you need a healthy pace of life. But really, I think our culture is rooted in laziness. And here's what I think where laziness is all rooted from. It's rooted from a desire for pleasure and comfort. We just want to be comfortable. We just want to do the bare minimum, get by, be comfortable, go on a vacation or two, not be overly miserable, and just be comfortable. And we do everything with a mindset of I just want pleasure. I just want it to be my passion. I want to fully enjoy everything that I do. And it's all rooted in a laziness mentality. And I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I have fleshly desires that, man, I'd rather just kick it. I'd rather sleep in. I'd rather not get up. I'd rather not do this. I'd rather not fix my house or plan. I would just rather not do work. We kind of have an idea in our head that I want the highest paying job to where I do the least amount of work. But you will never be wealthy, you'll never be successful unless you put the work in and embrace the grind and have a high work ethic. The Proverbs say, diligent hands will bring you wealth. So I think there's 6 marks of a sluggard that Proverbs unpacks. And I believe if you will honestly evaluate your heart, you have some of these tendencies in you. So let's go through it. 6 marks of a sluggard. The first one is this: has unproductive cravings. Has unproductive cravings. Proverbs 13:4 says this: the soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, while the soul of the diligent is richly supplied. You see, a person who has laziness tendencies or just this idea in them of laziness, you have an unproductive desire. I want to do something, but it never gets done. I have these desires for things, for entertainment, for pleasure, for comfort, for just simple and easy and the path of least resistance. And I have these desires and they produce nothing productive in my life. Man, I have these desires just to play more video games. I have these desires to just And this is me talking. I have a desire to want to game more. It's fun. I enjoy it. I have a desire to play more golf. I would love to. It'd be amazing. I have a desire to eat really expensive food and not worry about the bill at the end of the night. I want to invest in real estate and property. Heck, I want to start a business and a side hustle. I got all of these really good ambitions and ideas. But the desire is really rooted in the idea without any action of diligent work to put in to make it all happen. We all have cravings that produce unproductive results in our life. And my flesh has really bad intentions, and it feeds the sluggard mentality. I just want it handed to me. Man, I just wish somebody would gift me some money. I wish somebody would gift me a house that I could start renting out and get me started. I just need somebody like, well, Myron, if you're really serious about it, you'll go make it happen. But you have unproductive desires inside of you. Another way to say this in Proverbs 26:14 says, as a door turns on its hinges, so does a sluggard in his bed. I think he's talking about the snooze button. I think it's like this person's like, I'm not going to get up now. Nah, not going to get up now. And you just picture somebody tossing and turning in their bed like, I don't want to get up today. But I also think he's giving a metaphor, and I think he's giving a riddle of like, just as somebody like tosses and turns in their bed, keeps snoozing, doesn't want to get up, keeps making excuses, blah, blah, blah. But a door, when it swings on a hinge, is like, it's doing a lot of movement, but it's not really doing anything. And I think we substitute busyness for productivity. And we go, well, I'm busy, so therefore I'm not lazy. Well, you could be really busy at a lot of stuff that doesn't matter. And you have a desire to be busy because you think that means you're important, but really you're doing things that aren't important at all, and it's producing nothing productive in your life. So do not confuse busyness for not being lazy. Busyness can be just a disguise for laziness because it produces nothing productive, and your desire produces nothing productive. And here's the staggering statistic, I think, of a desire that our generation has. The most unproductive thing that we have is this, if we want to get really honest with ourselves. The newest study that I read was Gen Z spends 7.2 hours on screen time, average. And I've done this exercise. I'm not going to have you do it. Pull your phone out, look at the screen time. Don't do it. But when you're done here, pull out your phone, look at your screen time, and just see where you are. And really, the study was saying that 7.2 hours is consuming videos, Netflix, TikTok, Instagram, X. It's content, digital content on your device. 7.2 hours a day that you are spending consuming and satisfying an unproductive desire that you have to be entertained, to choose comfort over something productive. It's crazy. So, do you have unproductive cravings? Great ideas, no action, no progress in that direction. The second mark of a sluggard is this: distasteful to coworkers. Distasteful to coworkers. Proverbs 10:26 says this: like vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eye, so is the sluggard to those who send him. You ever been around a campfire and the smoke blows your way? You do something like this. And you just like run away. You're like, get this thing out of my face. Some people try to be tough and they just sit there and they just take it. I'm tough, I can do this. And you're like, and you're suffering. About like 30 seconds in, you're dying over there. You ever work with somebody who's a sluggard? You ever work with somebody who's lazy? Who doesn't do what they're supposed to, doesn't meet the requirements, and just really impedes everybody's workflow? Man, it feels like smoke in the eyes. Like, man, I just want to get, I don't want to came and look at it. I don't even want to be there. I don't want to be around them. This is vinegar to the teeth. Anybody ever drank vinegar? Anybody ever gone on the homeopathic kick of apple cider vinegar is the fix all for everything? You Google it, apple cider vinegar is well, you got a bunion, rub some apple cider vinegar on there, it'll heal it right up. Pinterest hole will tell you that apple cider vinegar fixes all things. You have a sore throat? I took some apple cider vinegar, gonna gargle some apple cider vinegar, thought I was gonna die. I literally gargle it, I'm choking, it goes in my lung, my windpipe, I think I'm gonna die. It was awful. And the sluggard tastes like that. And you know this. If you've been around one, if you've seen one, you work with one. And then if you are one, you are distasteful to your coworkers. It looks like doing the bare minimum. cutting corners, not following through on what is asked and expected and what you agreed to. They're always negative and pessimistic. They're always, making everybody else's job harder. That's what a sluggard is. And if you've been in a group project, you've had a sluggard in your group project. And it sucks, doesn't it? And if you didn't have a sluggard, you were the sluggard. There's always one. And it makes it miserable. Smoke in the eyes, vinegar to the taste. So they're distasteful to coworkers. Another way Proverbs says it is this. Number 3, they lack planning. Lacks planning. A sluggard lacks planning. Proverbs 20, verse 4 says, the sluggard does not plow in the autumn. He will seek at harvest and have nothing. He's speaking very much to an agrarian society because that was what they needed to survive. And the sluggard goes, I'll do it next week. It's fine. I'll just come, it'll be like, I'll procrastinate till, springtime. It'll be fine. No big deal. Harvest time comes. They got nothing to show for it. Because they lacked the discipline, which is the virtue substitute for laziness, to actually follow the instructions of the seasons and the crop cycles and planting and harvesting. They disregard wisdom and counsel, and they're just lazy. And they lack a plan to actually achieve the result that they want for their life. Another way it says it in Proverbs 14:23, all hard works brings a profit, but mere talks lead only to poverty. This one at me really hard. Man, I will talk about really cool plans, really great ideas, things that I want to accomplish in my life, man. All talk, no show. People can give you a really good lip service, can't they? Promising all kinds of things, saying all kinds of dreams and what they're doing and how they're going to accomplish it. But then you look at their life and go, bro, you have no plan. You have no actionable steps that you are working towards to accomplish that goal that you have. A sluggard lacks planning. We talk a big game. We inflate and exaggerate all the time. People think, I know I need to live debt-free. I know I need to live in sexual purity. I know I need to work hard. I know I need to forgive others and sacrifice for others. I know I need to give generously, and I know I need to love others like Jesus loved me, and I got all the talk. I know what to do. I know what to say. I'll give you the lip service. But yet I don't actually plan that into my life to live debt-free, to have systems of accountability, to live in sexual purity. I don't have people that will encourage me to work hard and teach me to forgive and teach me how to be generous. I don't have a plan to do it. Because nothing ever happens with mere talk. You got to put it into action to actually see results. A sluggard lacks planning. Number 4, a sluggard makes excuses. I know you got some doozies of excuses that you've pulled. We all have excuses. I've heard it said this way, they're all like bum holes, and we all got one and they all stink. I'm just going to put it out there. Excuses benefit no one. You're like, did he really just say that? Yeah, I just did. We all have a fleshly desire to make excuses of why I'm not showing results, or why I didn't graduate on time, or why this, or why that, or why I didn't get that job, or why I left that job. And we got all kinds of excuses. And here's my favorite one. The Proverbs 22:13 says this. The sluggard says, there is a lion outside. I shall be killed in the streets. Hey, bro, I can't go to work today. There's a lion out there. Like, what? A lion? We're West Virginia, bro. What do you mean, a lion? There's a lion. There's a lion outside. I can't come to work today. Just can't do it. I can't tend to the field or the crop. I can't do it. I'm going to die. I'm literally going to go to the extreme of death by lion. It's going to make the headlines. I know it. I can't do it. We make excuses. And here's how we like to have excuses made for us is when the snow forecast is looking like some snow, you're going to get excited. 3-hour delay. Oh, yeah. I don't want to go to class today. I don't want to work. That's an extension on the assignment because class is canceled tomorrow. I know it. Lord, let it snow. Hey, you know what? If I'm in a job, hey, maybe it's a remote day. Maybe it's like, maybe work will be canceled. That'd be amazing. They'll just like gift us all a payday because we can't drive. It's unsafe. And better yet, you wake up and go, hey, boss, I'm not a great driver. And there's like a centimeter of snow on my sidewalk. I mean, I'm sure the roads are way worse. Click. Like, we will use the most extreme lion type of excuses to get out of things that we don't want to put the effort in to accomplishing. We're very creative in our excuse making. The sluggard will excuse their weaknesses all the time. And you might think, well, I'm just not wired that way. I'm not gifted. This job expects me to do this, or this one class in my major is expecting me to, get a C, and my brain is just not gifted in that way. And you will look for all kinds of excuses to justify your weakness and your inability to buck up and have some discipline and do it. You will. It's human nature. It's flesh. It's inside of us all. We're all sluggards in one way, shape, or form. And we got some pretty stinky excuses if we were honest with ourselves. And just because you're not good at something doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Just because it's going to be hard and uncomfortable doesn't mean you can use an excuse to get out of it. That's sluggard behavior. It's okay, I'm going to be uncomfortable. All right, this is going to be hard. I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to put effort and intentionality. I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to accomplish something outside of my norm. It's called discipline. We will use excuses and excuse our weaknesses all the time. We'll be like, hey, you know what? I overslept. I'm sorry. No, you stayed up till 2 a.m. It's not a valid excuse. Hey, man, I'm not feeling great today, bro. You ate 9 Big Macs yesterday. That's why. That's on you. That's not a valid excuse. And this one is so real, and I know you're going to feel it. Hey, something came up. Wait, what do you mean something came up? You committed to this. Well, something came up. Okay, sure. And then they come to find out, it's like, well, something better came up. And they chose them over you, or they chose this over that. Man, that's laziness. That's inability to commit and follow through. That's sluggard's mentality. They make excuses and justify their behaviors. The fifth mark is this. A sluggard lacks follow-through. Lacks follow-through. Proverbs 26:15 says this, a sluggard buries his hand in the dish. He is too lazy to bring it back to his mouth. I'm like, I don't even know what this means. Is he just eating with his hand forks and he's just stuck? I don't like what is happening. I think it's a riddle. It's a riddle. Think about this. He's hungry. He wants to eat. He'll put his hand in the dish, but yet he won't finish the job of bringing it to his mouth to where he can get the food that he desires. It's an illustration. He didn't finish what he started. He had a desire. He had an unproductive desire at that, but he has a desire. He's lacking discipline. He's making excuses. He puts his hand in. I know this is what I need to do, but yet is unable to finish the job, follow through, of bringing it to his mouth. And if I'm honest, this one is me to the 10th degree. Man, I've had a bathroom project for 3 years in my house. I got holes in my ceiling where I patched something, and now I want to replace my deck, and I want to do this in my house, and I'll start 7 different projects, but yet lack to finish the one before I start the next. I lack follow through. And you know what? It's Saturdays when I wake up and go, man, I got the whole Saturday, but it's nice outside. I want to go play with my kids. I want to watch a movie. Man, I want to invite some people over. I would rather do so many more things because it's fun. It satisfies my flesh than to actually follow through on what I've started and what I've committed to completing. And we fall short. A lot of times a sluggard will lack follow through, consistently starting something and never finishing it, jumping from one thing to the next, and making all kinds of excuses and saying, I'll get to it. No, you won't. Because you lack discipline. You're selfish. You're choosing comfort and pleasure over what you've committed to finishing. The friend says, yeah, I'll be there. And they text you 5 minutes before, hey, I can't make it. They lack follow through. The final one is this. The sixth mark is this. They're full of pride. The sluggard is full of pride. Proverbs 26, verse 12, and then I'll jump to verse 16. Both of these go together. Do you see a man who is wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than for him. And then it goes in verse 16 in the same chapter. The sluggard is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer sensibly. The sluggard thinks he is smarter and more wise than 7 just normal, average Joe, sensible, logical beings. They think they are wise in their own eyes. They're unwilling to listen to other people's advice, receive their instruction, look around and just see how the world works. Hey, people get paid when they go to work. Hey, people get promoted when they persevere through difficulties. Hey, when people have people skills, they actually do better in life. Hey, if I could learn from somebody else, they go against all that. They think they know better. They think they'll be the exemption. They think they're entitled, and they are full of pride, self-absorbed, and very selfish people. Laziness, I think, is rooted in comfort and pride. A desire for simple, easy path of least resistance, and a little bit of pride and entitlement of someone should give me something. I've earned this, I deserve this, and I just want to have the easy life. They think they're right, they think they're justified, and they think they deserve rest. Unwilling to follow common sense will prove results of sluggardness. Unwilling to follow common sense. And he's talking to an agrarian society and culture. He's saying, hey, just plant when it's time to plant. And so you can harvest when it's time to harvest. Common sense. But the prideful, smarter than everybody person thinks, I can do it differently. Work smarter, not harder, right? And you can spend hours trying to invent ways to work smarter. You would have been completed if you'd have just worked harder in the ways that are proven to produce results. You won't go anywhere. You will not be successful. You'll never achieve anything great if you're not willing to humble yourself and work. Proverbs 6:6 says this, go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways to be wise. He's saying, hey, if you're a sluggard and you want some advice, go to the ants. They can't talk to you, but just watch them. They have no master. They have no instruction. They have no comparison. They have nothing. But they work their butts off. They go and gather food and they create systems and lines and they take care of each other. And it's just this, it's like they are diligent. They're putting their hands to the grindstone. They're making things happen without being told. And so I would say the definition of discipline would be seeing what needs to be done and doing it. Knowing what the right thing is to do and having enough self-control to actually do it, like the ant, knows what needs to be done, is willing to do whatever needs to be done in order to get it done. But the sluggard says, excuse, lazy, someone else, entitled, pride, and all the 6 marks that we just talked about it. You know what to do, but yet you lack the discipline to do it. Look at the ants. And we're all lazy in some way. We're all sluggards in some way. Our flesh is selfish. And really, I think I can summarize it if it's hard, it's not for me. I want to do something I'm passionate about. I want to do something that, excites me every single day. You are living in a fantasy world. That job and that career does not exist on planet Earth. There are dynamics and things in every type of occupation and thing that you would give your life to that is hard. Because work is supposed to be hard. Genesis chapter 3. Genesis 2, work was perfect in the garden, what man was supposed to do. Genesis 3 is when sin and the curse comes in of all of humanity. And God looks at Adam and says, hey, because of your sin, because you disobeyed me, cursed is the ground that you will have to work. You will fight against it for the rest of your life, and you will die working and producing and going head to head with the earth in the work that you are going to be doing. Work is now hard. We're still supposed to do it. It's part of the plan and the design, but now it's hard. That's why it's called work, because it's hard. That's why, here's a newsflash, that's why they pay you to do it. Because it's an exchange, because it's not always fun. It's not always what you want to do. Because if it was what you wanted to do and a corporation or business knew that, it'd be like, hey, we'll not pay you because you love it so much, you'll just do it for free. But the nature of it's hard. You're not always going to like it. You're not always going to enjoy it. It's not always going to be easy. But we're called to work. We're called to put our hands and be diligent and produce and succeed. And that brings wealth and stability. Otherwise, you're a sluggard. It brings poverty. It brings dishonesty. It brings excuses. It brings division among employees and people. And it's just not God's design. Proverbs 12:11 says this, those who work the land will have an abundant food, but those who chase fantasies have no sense. Are you chasing a fantasy life to where work isn't work? I get paid a lot of money to do a little bit of work. Man, I got the six-figure, let's be honest with ourselves. What did you want to be when you grew up? Think about it. And then if you actually became what you wanted to when you wanted to grow up, you'd get in that job and go, man, it's not what it all cracked up to be. Hollywood made it look a lot more fun. The depictions of what I saw, man, this looked a lot better for me, but this is not what I thought it was all cracked up to be. And if you're like me, my goal was to make six figures. I was like, man, I'm going to make six figures. Easy. But by the time I'm 30, whoo, and I'm like, ministry. That was a dumb idea. But you have a desire, you have a fantasy in your head of what work looks like, what success and what a career looks like that doesn't exist in reality. So you are not called to flake when things get hard. You are not called to jump ship when you don't want to do it anymore. You are called to work with all of your effort, honoring and glorifying God by your work. Colossians 3 says this, the Apostle Paul, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for man or for men, knowing that for the Lord you will receive an inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. You are called to work. Genesis 2, it's part of the design. The curse says it's going to be hard, but you are not working for the approval of man. You're not working for wealth and a success. You're working to glorify your Father in heaven. That's why we work. That's why Christians should have the best work ethic of any single group of people on the face of the planet, because we are not working for mankind, we're working for God. It was part of his design and his command for humanity to work. But yet, the flesh says, I want the easy road. Man, I just want to kick it and rest and vacation and travel, make a bunch of money and do a little bit of work. Man, I want to store up a bunch of money for me so that I can retire early and just be a sluggard in my senior citizen years. Colossians 2:10 says, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Guys, we are made in God's image. We are his handiwork. We are his workmanship. He has prepared good works for you to do. He's prepared things for you to work at. And fundamentally, at the core of it, it is to glorify God, to build his kingdom. We are called to grow our relationship with Jesus. It takes work. We're called to grow relationships among community for accountability. It takes work. We are called to provide and contribute to our society in practical, tangible ways. It takes work. We are called to take care of the widows and the orphans. It takes work. We are called to serve others and consider others more valuable than ourselves and meet their needs. It takes work to do all of that. And we should be the most high capacity, hardest working people on the face of the planet, because we're not serving men, we're serving God. We were made to work. And in order to do this, it takes discipline. You have to fight your flesh and the laziness tendencies and the sluggard tendencies that you and I have in our flesh, rooted in pride and comfort and pleasure, and just be done with it and say, no more. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to stop snoozing, rolling around. I'm going to stop being addicted to busyness and things that don't actually matter in this life. And I'm going to be busy with things that are God-honoring, that he's calling me into to make a difference in this world. And it looks like doing that at a hospital, or doing that in a veterinary clinic, or doing that on a construction site, or doing that at home raising kids. It looks like doing that in any context you will find yourself in, but you're doing it with all of your heart, heartily, for the Lord, to glorify him. Because we are his ambassadors. Listen, we are his employees, kind of. His ambassadors. We represent Jesus in our life. And if we are sluggards, that is a really poor representation of the God of the universe who created everything. He's a working type of God. He's a creative type of God. He produces productive things type of God. And we carry his image, and we should do the same and represent him really well. That's what we're called to do. And if you want to be successful in life, you got to discipline yourself. No one accidentally gets anywhere in life. Maybe some people, trust fund babies, given things and just had the easy life, but that's so rare. You get somewhere because you worked for it. You get somewhere because you disciplined yourself. You don't accidentally become good at something. Malcolm Gladwell, he wrote this book. It was kind of this, and in this book he had this genius principle. No one just becomes a genius over a topic or a thing. It takes a lot of effort. And he synthesized this hypothesis of it takes 10,000 hours to be great at something. Let's go back to 7.2 hours of media consumption for Gen Z. You multiply that across 4 years, a college degree, it's 10,415 hours. I mean, if you would substitute Netflix, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, any source of media, video consumption, with something productive, you could be a master in 4 years. Whew. You could do a lot of good with repurposing 7.2 hours that we are consuming in digital content. So what is discipline? It's doing the right thing even when you don't feel like it. It's doing what is right, knowing what is right and doing it. It's living with a vision, a bigger picture, and not just living in the moment of the day to day. It's choosing what you want most versus what you want in the moment. It's delaying pleasure and gratification. It welcomes discomfort. It welcomes perseverance. It invites accountability. If someone's going to help me and hold me accountable to achieving the goals that I have, and I will no longer make excuses. And I will work, and I will honor, I will glorify God. Guys, don't waste your life on meaningless things. Don't waste your life on things that are pointless and don't matter. Would you examine your heart of the sluggard tendencies that you have and begin to find ways to put discipline in your life to overcome that vice with the virtue of discipline? Let me pray for us. God, I thank you for the book of Proverbs. God, I thank you that it's just one-liners and one-liners and one-liners after the next of just your truth. These principles that, man, if we would just accept them into our life and invite them into our life, we could do great things for you. We'd honor you and glorify you, and we'd be blessed, and we would be wealthy, and we would have enough, and we would be successful, and God, most importantly, you would be pleased. So God, would you just, by your Spirit, highlight in my life, in our life, where I'm a sluggard. Those 6 marks, where's it real for me? Own it, confess it, repent of it, and invite discipline to overcome it, to be everything that you've created us to be, and accomplish all the good works that you have predetermined for us inside your will. And I pray in Jesus' name.